Welcome to another DirectionsMag podcast. We're honored to bring this valuable resource back to you as we celebrate our 20th year in the geospatial community. Read more at DirectionsMag.com. Today we're welcoming the chair, Tory Elmore, and cabinet members Rachel Rodriguez and Alex Lopez-Rogina from URISA's Vanguard cabinet for young professionals, as well as the current president-elect, Ken McDonough. We are discussing the benefits of professional organizations for young professionals as well as their seasoned colleagues. Who should join a professional organization and why?
Everyone.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same.
If there is a professional organization for your profession, you should join it.
It was kind of an accident, but I joined URISA back in 1988. Quite honestly, if I've had any success in my profession, it's because of the interaction and the lessons I've learned from so many different leaders in the field. That you encounter people that if you've got a problem, there's probably somebody that's already approached it or they are dealing with it. And so the knowledge base you're tapping into is so much more vast than if you try to do it alone.
For me, I come from a civil engineering background, and I actually, because my bachelor's was civil engineering, and I joined as a college student, American Society of Civil Engineers, and I started getting involved with the professional chapter, and that's how I got my current job. I put myself out there, just that networking. After graduation, I had a job. So once I got into GIS and I found out about URISA, I was like, well, now I need to get in that one because I've gotten so much out of ASCE, and it's only been a year for me being part of URISA, but again, I've already gotten so much out of it.
I mean, it seems to me that a professional organization, or joining a professional organization, truly you get the most out of it when you really participate in it, when you reach out to other people and you work hard to network. But I've also noticed that even being within URISA or within a local chapter of URISA or just URISA International, that folks really encourage me as a young person to get involved. And so even if I'm a little, if you're a little shyer and you're not like the most go-getting person in terms of building a network, that you can still find those opportunities. You can still sort of ease your way in a way that I think makes it accessible to a lot of people. I would say regardless of what kind of person you are, that there are opportunities that sort of cater themselves to people who really dive into it head first, and other people who sort of ease themselves into an organization like that.
Definitely. And one thing that I've learned, being an introvert, you just fake it till you make it, You force yourself out there and it becomes easier. I mean, at the end of every conference I go to, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go sit in a dark room by myself.
No offense, but I think that's all GIS professionals do that.
Oh yeah.
But if you're going to be successful in your field, you have to learn to network with people. So the conferences are really important for that part of helping you get over that hump of, people may not believe it, but I'm really shy, and I certainly was early on. And you get in the midst of all these people but then you hear somebody talking about something you really are interested in, or you realize it's good information, and you overcome that shyness or that introversion, because you really need to talk to that person. And you grow in so many ways other than just strictly knowledge. Well, it's a matter of it's important to be part of a community of like-minded people. I just am more convinced than ever that it's a mistake to think that you have all the answers by yourself. And it's important to get involved with a community that's diverse. You want to hear a wide variety of ideas and solutions. And so a professional organization that's not vendor specific gives you that.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's one of the things that I am always telling um, people that are new to geospatial technologies or they're learning that nobody in this profession that does this well or well enough does it alone. Nobody does this alone. We all
Yes.
have to work together. It is the so collaborative.
And if you get nothing else out of an organization, being around like-minded people, at least you have other people that you can geek out with.
Yeah, that's right.
Kim, could you tell us a little more about URISA and your experiences, as well as what's available for folks?
Of course, I'm coming from a bit of a biased view, but this is an organization I've been involved with since 1988. Just in terms of, and actually, our most recent past president, Trip Corbin, did a great job of explaining this in a meeting the other day. He said, if all you're interested in is what's the latest version of what software you're using and how you implement that, this isn't the organization or meeting for you. But if you want to know how to manage GIS and grow it and sell it and develop it, then that's what URISA is about.
Mm-hmm.
We delve into things that you just typically will not get in a user conference, such as a workshop that I helped teach on data privacy. If you're on the technical level, you don't get into that. But if you're at the management level, you really have to understand what state and federal laws apply to your work. And that in turn impacts how you utilize the technology. But that's typically something you won't get at a user conference, but you will get at URISA.
Yeah, one of the things that I can speak to about URISA is just the opportunity that it's presented me as such a young person to really just get right to the heart of the organization. I guess I don't have a huge amount of experience with other professional organizations, but I can imagine that not many offer the opportunity for someone to be 26 years old and the chair of a major committee or a major board within that organization. And so I'm really, grateful for that opportunity, but also think it's so important that if, an organization wants to, values the diversity of its voices, which it truly seems that URISA does, that you have to put, people with those different voices in a position to share them. And so, back to what we were saying before is that particularly if you're kind of shy or, I don't consider myself to just be like a natural leader, but it's definitely helped me step up and fill a leadership role that I guess I didn't really know. I wouldn't have said that's a position or that's something that I feel like is achievable to me before I sort of found URISA and before I sort of found my way into the organization. See it a lot. I was just sort of looking through some of the names of the folks who run the various URISA subcommittees. And I thought, wow, I recognize a lot of these names. These are former Vanguard cabinet members. And so, I know I may be just sort of getting ahead of myself a little bit and getting into Vanguard cabinet, but from my perspective, it's just been a great way to just sort of zoom right into the center, to the heart of the organization.
Yeah, for me, URISA really offers geospatial professionals, the workshops, the seminars, the conferences, even like the courses and different things that they have available to get to different subject matter experts that you don't think you need at the time, but you may, switch jobs like I have in the past, that you go from one professional sector to another, and URISA has something for you and has the personnel that has that experience and that expertise to go ahead and guide you through that transition into this, new role that you might be taking on. Like, for example, I just took on a role that's with addressing, and URISA has the Next Gen 911 and the GIS workflow course that I was able to take, and it helped me build my knowledge base in that role. And I'm able to connect with the professionals that are writing the standards, because most of them are URISA members.
Yes, URISA was a leader in developing the national addressing standards. There's a couple of good points I was hearing there. One is building leadership capabilities. URISA is a great place for you to begin developing and exploring how you can function as a leader. We've got committees, we're creating new special interest groups, their chapters. It's providing opportunities for young professionals to begin fleshing out their skills of leading a group of people towards an objective, which, if you're going to progress in your profession, that's going to be a very essential skill that you probably did not get much experience with in school. So it's very good in that area. And then I liked how Rachel referred to the knowledge base that's available. When I left, I managed a municipal GIS for many years, and that's pretty much parcel oriented. Then I came to the state DOT, and it was bewildering to me, and so I sent an email out to a lot of the URISA friends I had and says, what's with these people? and they came back and began to explain, here's why DOT thinks the way it is. This is why their data is organized the way it is. And once I got that, I understood what I was looking at and and how I needed to change my thinking in terms of how we were managing the system. So I don't know what I would have done without URISA in that case. They were just absolutely invaluable.
Tory, you mentioned the Vanguard cabinet earlier. Could you tell us more about it?
Absolutely. The Vanguard cabinet is the young professional arm of URISA. It's a committee of, I think right now we're about 12. In the past, we've been slightly larger than that. I think the number's generally around 14 young professionals, so 35 and younger, in a geospatial field who apply for a position. You can find the application online, and are selected for a 2-year term. And so we have new Vanguard cabinet members that come in each year, and then a cohort that leaves each year. The Vanguard cabinet's goal is to take, those objectives that URISA has at large and figure out how we support young professionals in each of those aspects. How do we bring more young professionals into the organization? How do we get young professionals involved with, growing and strengthening and protecting the GIS profession? And how do we support young professionals in their academic and professional careers? And so we do a lot of different things. We put on a young professional track at the GIS Pro Conference. We have a mentoring program. We do a lot of outreach to schools and young professionals, and we're just getting started with a sort of education initiative to get young professionals involved in both K through 12 and university level and ongoing education efforts. So there's a lot for different people. There are a lot of different things that people are interested in. I've had the opportunity to connect one-on-one with all of the folks who are on the Vanguard cabinet currently, and it's kind of amazing. We have folks in Canada and Trinidad and all over the United States. We've got a variety of different jobs that people do. We've got people in nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations and in government organizations and doing a lot of different kinds of work. And so it's a great opportunity not only to expand, to really make some close connections with other young professionals, but also like I was saying earlier, and Kim sort of built on this as well, to sort of take on a leadership role. And I really think to make a difference for young professionals, and ultimately to sort of springboard your participation and your lifelong commitment, I think, to URISA. You know, I get this sense not only from my own plans as a second-year member, but also from what past members have done, and just the way that the cabinet is structured, that it serves as an introduction to URISA, but by no means after 2 years is it like, all right, you know, I'm not going to be involved in URISA anymore. If anything, it's a way to get more deeply involved in URISA in just a short period of time.
We've talked quite a bit about what organizations can give us or provide for us as professionals, but perhaps we could mention a little bit about what you might be looking for in an organization when you are out searching for just the right one.
Of course, I've got the advantage of hindsight, but for me, joining the organization was stimulated by one, a desire to develop a cohort of colleagues that were dealing with the same issues, or maybe had solved problems already that I had. But a lot of it was just, I realized pretty quickly that I needed more than one brain helping me to solve problems. And I found this organization that they had this huge group of great minds, and all different. Everybody has approached a common problem a little bit differently, and so again, I've discovered just tremendous friendships, and that's just been a side benefit. Just finding all the professional colleagues just has been the greatest benefit. There's been great sessions, great workshops, but the real benefit is that network of friends and colleagues that I interact with on a constant basis.
I guess the main thing, you know, I like to sort of jump off what Kim was saying there, but I found myself in really my first real job, or GIS job, out of college, that I was a one-person GIS department. And it's, you know, it's kind of daunting, you know, when something goes wrong at work, or you don't know how to do something, there's not somebody in the office to turn around and say, like, hey, do you know how to do this, or do you know how to fix this, or what's going on here? And on the one hand, you can get on the phone with like a software provider and try to get information from them about how the software works or whatever, but it's not the same, I think, as having like that network of folks that you can reach out to and say, you know, I'm having a small problem, or I'm having a large problem, and really benefit from the fact that probably no problem is new. And so, you know, for me, I was really looking for an organization that not only had that network, but I think that had a network that was local to me as well. I was really excited about the fact that, you know, there is a really vibrant Southern California chapter and a growing Central California chapter, which were both areas that I was working. And so not only were there people that, you know, I had met, you know, I knew because I called them up one day or I met them on the phone, but people that you could actually interact with in person, that I just really felt like I could build a relationship with. And so, you know, it was really nice to be able to go to a conference like Cal GIS and run into all of these people, or sort of get to interact face to face with a lot of people who had really given me a lot of support in my career, probably more than they really knew. Imagine that young professionals especially find themselves in positions where they're dealing with something for the first time, and I think that insight from someone more experienced is totally valuable.
Yeah, for me, I was actually looking for an organization that wasn't job specific, actually. That it was more broad, that I could take with me from one job to another, because I knew I wasn't going to stay at my first GIS job for an extended period of time, which ended up being 5 years, but you know, that happens. But yeah, I wanted somewhere or some organization that could, you know, help guide me through any avenue I wanted to go with GIS, or, you know, any GIS profession. You have no idea how many times I have come to URISA members, just, you know, my networking friends, with a problem, and a real problem, whether it's being a young professional or being a female in the workforce, that they've been able to guide me and counsel me into how to handle those situations that I was definitely not prepared for at the time. So they, you know, they really helped bring me up to, you know, a more professional level on how to deal with certain, you know, even if it's just ethical issues with, oh, my supervisor wants me to do this certain thing with this data, and it's a little bit off key. They've been able to guide me a little bit better.
Something that I want out of an organization is a local presence, which you guys have talked about. Having those local chapters, because getting to know everyone on the national scale is great, but it's having people close by is, I know that in Alabama, our Slack account, somebody posts like a question about this or that, and there's instantly just everyone's like, oh, try this, try that. And but having a local presence is really big for me. And I know URISA has lots of sub-chapters, so that was really appealing to me.
Yeah, and actually URISA's work is now in the process of implementing a new membership model that our goal is to make the chapters even more integrated into the organization, so that local presence will be a direct conduit all the way up to national. You'll very easily have services that you've not had at the local level, you now will have. Big part of our goal is to make that network even more available than before.
Talking about the local chapters, with the national, you know, there's conferences, and so you meet with people a couple of times a year, maybe, but on the local level, you can more easily get together and actually see each other once a month and really discuss and maybe have a little GIS fellowship.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on a slightly different note, one thing that I also think this is something that's really important to me. It's been my experience that URISA is really open to doing new things or to doing things differently. I have a real aversion to the idea, and I'm sure the two other Vanguard cabinet members on the call have heard me say this probably a million times, but that doing things a certain way simply because that's the way they've always been done. Now, if that's the best way to do things, then that's fine. But I'm always, you know, trying to be really open to new ideas from Vanguard cabinet members, and I found that URISA in turn is very open to doing new things and new ideas. I mean, my first year on the cabinet, we were planning for GIS Pro, and there was an annual university student competition, and I wanted to do a high school competition, and it was just sort of like, okay, let's do it. And I just thought that was great, that it's not a community of people where young voices are shunted to the side or not taken seriously, and that essentially, as long as you are willing to work towards doing something, that there's a lot of flexibility in what can be done, and a lot of openness to that. And I think that's really important to me.
We've discussed also that it really is a give and take when it comes to organizations and our relationships with them and with each other. What do you, as young professionals, or maybe in general, what should we think about in terms of giving or bringing to an organization?
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to, you know, what actually I was just saying, which is that, you know, young professionals often and have ideas that maybe are new, or maybe go in a different direction than the way something has always been done. And I mean, I think it goes back to what Kim said about having a diverse organization, is that diversity of age, I think, is important. But I think that having young people brings in some of the generational differences, whether it's technology or social media, or just an idea like a high school student competition, that it's great to have that. The more ideas, the better.
I think it's really that the young professionals and the people that are still in school, no matter what level, they're able to go ahead and provide the organization not only their time, because students do have projects that they need to work on, and there's no harm in tag teaming a project with URISA, one of URISA's initiatives. It's actually very helpful, and you could go ahead and get a lot done for the organization and for your continuing education goals, and it provides you a way to test the waters with your potential future colleagues.
Absolutely. Yes. And speaking from someone that's not allowed into the Vanguard cabinet now, what I'm excited about with the Vanguard is the energy and the ideas that a group of young professionals brings to us. It's a lot like what Tory's referring to, is it keeps us from getting settled into doing everything the same old way. So I personally am really excited about the potential of the Vanguard cabinet, and I want to find as many ways as possible as we can plug these young professionals into this organization, because they're the future not only for URISA, they're the future for our profession, they're the future for our world. So we need to get these folks involved. And Vanguard cabinet, I think, is going to be the way that lets us do that.
A special thanks to our panel today for sharing their thoughts on professional organizations. I encourage you to visit URISA at urisa.org, as well as our many offerings over at DirectionsMag.com.